Oh, okay. Okay. Well, just to reiterate, um, the idea, facilitators, is that you have to produce a product at the end, because when we come back, session 2:15 to 2:55, that's the first session. So you will come back into the main room, and in about 3 minutes, a facilitator from each of the four groups will say, this is kind of what we came up with. And then we will all be put into the second breakouts, which will start at 3:15, and they will go until 3:45. So that'll be 30 minutes. It won't be a hard 30 minutes because we do have to start up the final session at 4:15 at 4 p.m. And so from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., you will simply present your agreed upon conclusions, which are the three things. So that'll be a whole hour for us to kind of discuss that because we want to come up with 12, 3 from each of the topic areas. So I see Cheryl's hand is raised. Cheryl.
Yes, and excuse the noise in the background. My husband is teaching a young man the trumpet close to me. So I'm a little confused about the two breakouts. When one goes to register, it appears that you can choose a different topic in the second breakout from your first breakout. But
that's a very good question, Cheryl, because Ellen and I had talked about this. And for the first breakouts, and maybe Ellen Schwartz can give a little report. The last time we talked, there were about 30-something people who had registered, and 24 of them had chosen topics. And 11 of them had chosen in mass incarceration, and 3 of them had chosen the death penalty. So, Ellen, why don't you give a report as best you know it currently on what the registrations are running like?
Yeah, there's, well, I hate them. There are 41 registrations, and 35 people have chosen at least one breakout session. Some people, I haven't got a count, some people have chosen the same session as their second choice. But most people had a different, who did choose a first choice and chose a second, chose a different second choice. There are 4 people who chose abolish the death penalty as their first choice, and 12 who chose end mass incarceration. And the second choice is only different by 1. 3 people chose abolish the death penalty as their second choice, and 11 chose end mass incarceration. I don't really know what to do with those numbers. You know,
well, Ellen, we are aiming to get over 300 people registered. Today, World Beyond War, and you know how big they are, they agreed to get it out to their US contacts. That's going to be huge. So I would urge the branches of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom to sign on because Code Pink and all the big UFPJ organizations are also pushing it. So by the time we get to the end of the month, we want to be as close to that 300 as possible because the way that things are trending, about 1/3 of people who register actually show up. So we really want to try to get no less than 100 people, but closer to like 160. And if there is like a whole bunch of people who want to go into end mass incarceration, we're going to have to say to some of those people, we're going to put you somewhere else because we don't want that kind of unevenness across the board. But I would urge all of the facilitators to recruit to your breakouts So TPNW folks recruit so that people register for the conference so they can be in your breakout. Because you ask 100 people, 50 say they're showing up, and 25 actually do. That's the organizer rule. So feel free to recruit. But World Beyond War is helping us. UFPJ is helping us. We're gonna build it. Rebecca.
Thank you. Just a point from logistics, and I've planned many conferences and I do breakout rooms often. It's very difficult to assign and to let people pick their own breakout room when you have more than 30 people. And your goals are to have much more than that. My recommendation would be to allow random. That way people aren't getting upset that they're put in a certain place or not. Just letting people know that we're here, we're coming together to talk about these issues. And if they have a real need to be in one group, we can switch people around and they can make that request in the chat. But trying to get people to sign up and then assign them, and the person who would have to create the breakout rooms and manage that technology on the back end is a lot. And it doesn't sound like we really have the technical ability to do that. So I just am recommending that we do it randomly, or you allow Zoom to set up the breakout rooms.
Well, Ellen is in charge of that. So Ellen, could you speak to what Rebecca is proposing?
Well, yeah, what Teresa was thinking, but I still don't know, how we would allocate it. That we would assign people for the first room, but not, but let them have free choice for the second breakout session. What I don't know is if they're not already part of a contact list within an organization, can I assign the breakout rooms? And I think the answer is no. I can't assign the breakout rooms before the meeting starts. And I won't have a lot of time.
You can assign them before the meeting starts, and then once they're assigned, when you have additional people coming in, you can choose where they go.
When people come in, they're alphabetized. So may I consult with Rebecca on this outside the meeting?
Yes, that's what I proposed. And so Rebecca, could you drop your contact in the chat so that Ellen can have it? And George has her hand raised. George.
So Rebecca, you and Ellen will have a good time. One experience I've had with this that really worked is having people rename themselves with the breakout room they want, or assign A, B, C, and D. That way it's easier to divide them up. It still takes time, but it takes way less time. If you say, so now rename yourself, and as you put an A behind your name, or a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or 4, that worked really well. That's it.
Well, thank you, George. Because the techies in the room are George, Rebecca, and the Ellens, Ellen Schwartz and Ellen Thomas. And my biggest concern is about how the recording will be saved. So it looks like we're going to be able to do this meeting in about an hour. So George, is there anything else before we go to the tech part with Ellen?
There's not anything else on the agenda.
Wonderful. So Ellen, could you explain to folks who are the facilitators how they will save the recordings and preserve them, and so that we have them for dissemination later? Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the easy part. So we're going to be recording to the Zoom servers what goes on in the main room during the plenaries. So when people go into the breakout sessions, someone in each session should record to their local computer. And that means someone can't be using a tablet or a phone to connect to Zoom. It has to be a computer. And it has to have, I don't know, about a half a gigabyte of free storage to store the recording on. Teresa, do you want both parts to be recorded?
We want everything. We want everything to be recorded. Yes.
Okay. So
George Stack, Ellen, when you did your experiment and you hit record, it started recording here. I had not hit record. It was supposed to automatically record and it didn't.
Right.
So
thank you, George. Okay, so it was not
we
recording
heard it
out
here. So we may want to do that experiment now that we're recording in this room. We may want to repeat that experiment for a short while if you need to.
Yeah, I don't think it was recording. I hit record inside the breakout room. It announced that recording was going on. It won't be until after the meeting that I can actually see the recording, but from previous experience, it was only recording inside the breakout room. But it continued recording when I returned to the main room, which means people who are in charge of the breakout sessions will have to also remember to stop recording when they leave the breakout room, or we'll have all this.
I'm not sure if that's so, Ellen, because by the time you came back, I had hit recording here in the full room.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Oh, okay. So that's a worthless experiment. Okay, good. All right. So since we're still recording, I'm still going to have to find out and let everybody know if the recording that starts in the breakout room stops when you leave. If the host starts recording in a breakout room and leaves the breakout room and goes to another one, the recording automatically stops and restarts automatically. And then if the host goes to the main room, the recording stops and restarts automatically. So it'll be in 3 files, but it'll continue recording. And that's really okay, because you can throw away the parts you don't want. But I don't know what happens if a co-host starts recording. I think we did it, George and I, but we tried so many different things. I can't remember. I can't remember what the results were.
It also means that before the breakouts begin, we have to make people co-hosts. Ideally, we know before the call starts, and we'll be on early, but we'll know before the call starts who is going to be the recorder in your breakout groups, in your workshops, so that we assign them co-host, Ellen, early on. We can't make you co-host after you're in the breakout room.
Well, George, we need to settle that question tonight. It was my expectation that Walisha would be that person, that Rebecca would be that person, that Adrian would be that person, and that Akinyele would be that person. So Akinyele, could you unmute yourself? I know that Adrian has significant tech skills, and it's been my experience in being in these settings with Walisha that she has significant tech skills, and Rebecca has definitely indicated she does. So since you're a professor, I imagine you do this stuff all the time. Akinyele, can you explain that you understand what they're talking about? Unmute yourself, Akinyele.
I just did. I'm assuming they mean that they need me to record my session, right? And so when it happens, exactly. I just have to have So I just need those sessions. Yeah, exactly. I just need those instructions. So if that could be figured out that they need us to do it and just give me the instructions, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
I can take us all into a breakout room.
Well, before you do that, Ellen, let me hear Cheryl's question. Cheryl, you have your hand up.
Yes, I was going to say we have some time here within what you scheduled. Why don't we be put into, say, 2 breakout rooms right now, and so that people can practice this recording? I don't mind. You could put me and Rebecca in a breakout room. You know, you can set up breakout rooms right now, I think. We could do a little experiment right now. That was my suggestion.
It's entirely up to Ellen. So Ellen, we had talked about your doing this. So is this something you want to do now?
We could do it now. Actually, anybody who's going to be the one that pushes the button to record needs to be made a co-host now.
George, you're in charge of that. Yeah. So Rebecca needs to be made a co-host. Let's give Akinyele a try at it, and Adrian a co-host, and Walisha a co-host.
I did put in the chat, remember that whenever you do record to the cloud, you cannot share your screen. So if anybody's sharing a screen in a breakout room, recording to the cloud does not allow you to share your screen. You have to record
to your local
to the computer. You have
I apologize.
Record to the computer.
Yes, because that way you have control over the recording itself.
Yeah, I've learned that plenty of times doing presentations that when you do to the cloud, you cannot share a screen. So you need to do it to the computer.
Yes. Okay. Well, that was the idea, that people would be recording to their own computers. And then this whole transfer.com thing, which Ellen hasn't mentioned yet. I think she's dealing with her dogs right
everybody's co-host. Akinyele and Adrian and Rebecca and Walisha, you're all co-hosts.
Okay.
So Ellen, all of the co-hosts will be doing the recording, have been assigned. Okay. So which people do now.
Will it also be streamed live?
Please, Walisha, mute yourself for a moment so that we can figure this out, and we'll talk about, no, I don't think it's gonna be live streamed, but at any rate, Ellen would be in charge of that. So Ellen, what do you want to do now?
Well, I can take everybody into the breakout room that I set up, because I don't think there's any reason why multiple people can't record to the cloud simultaneously. Only one recording to the, not to the cloud, to local computers. Everybody can record to their own local computers if we permitted it. Rebecca, do you think?
Well, I'm trying to put y'all
in you
4
can
separate
definitely.
rooms.
Well,
we don't have to go into separate rooms because I can't talk to people in 4 places at once. So let's all go into one.
Well, Ellen, Rebecca was gonna respond to your question. So Rebecca, do you understand what's happening? I am deliberately low tech. So Rebecca, what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to test this. I've not had the experience with my sharing of screen and recording to the cloud, but I was planning to record to the computer anyway, so I find that to be more stable, but I think we should test this. I think that would be a really good idea.
Well, the key thing is that we want to own the recordings, so to speak. So that's why you're assigned to do the recording. I think this will be a good time, Ellen, to talk about the transfer.com thing, because people need to move this stuff from their computers to something where you have it. So, could you please explain that? Adrian, excuse me just a moment. Adrian, did you have something to say You're down here twice. What's going on?
No.
Oh.
All right, Rebecca's trying to get us into the breakout room. So if you got a thing that's up on your screen that says Rebecca Irby is inviting you to join room 1, or anybody else says join room 1, click on join and let's get in there.
If you have any concern, sign an agreement with us that we would send it to you. But that's up to you. But
Akinyele,
yes.
I know where you work.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't know.
I trust you, Akinyele, to let it go.
Yeah, I would definitely let it go.
All right.
But I'm just saying, because you said you wanted to own it. So I just
well, it was just a figure of speech.
Okay.
Ellen Schwartz will actually be doing the owning because Ellen Schwartz is the official tech person for the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and the Fannie Lou Hamer branch is a branch of WILF. So this will be posted to the WILF YouTube channel and anywhere else we can get it in the WILF world. So that's kind of what we're counting on Ellen to make sure that all the 1,300, 1,500 members in the US section will have access to the YouTube video. So that's kind of on Ellen, and I'm deliberately not being in the tech stuff. And so Ellen, tell us about the transfer thing.
Well, okay, I'd like to back up though to step 1, which is doing the recording. You attacked me. So either on the bottom of your screen, you can tell if you're in a breakout room. At the top, it says Zoom meeting room 1, which isn't what the kind of thing it says. You know, if the room has a name, it'll have the name rather than room 1, but it's going to be like that if you're in a breakout room. Otherwise, it looks very similar to the main room. And along the bottom are very similar controls. And either one of it, if you are a co-host, then one of those controls will say record on this computer. If it doesn't, then you've got 3 dots and it says more, and you click on that. And it'll say record.
Progress.
And we're in the breakout room doing a recording. I'm saying that for the purpose of the recording. I don't know if it stops. I still don't know if it stops automatically if we leave the breakout room and don't physically stop the recording.
I'll try. So, let's try, because I'm recording to my computer now. So I will leave this room and see what happens.
And I hear.
Hey, Rebecca.
George, hey, are you recording in here?
Yes, but
Can
it
you
was
pause?
recording when I left the other space. I wanted to leave the other space too because I thought as the host,
Right.
the recording follows you.
I think it does. I think you're correct because now I'm going to pause. Do you see it paused on your side or is that only on my screen?
Mine's not paused, it's still recording.
It's still recording? Okay, so this recording is
Followed
following
you.
me. Yeah,
It
okay. I'm
followed
gonna
you.
go back into the breakout room and tell them. So
Me
that's what they
too.
were wondering
Or should
about.
I stay
Okay.
out?
Oh, it
Have we,
doesn't matter. You can come back in.
have we proven what we need? Well, what
I think
will
we
it
have.
record? Did it record when I'm not there? Was it recording to your computer when I wasn't there?
Oh, in here, the main room, you mean?
In your
So
in
no.
your
Oh,
breakout.
in mine, yes. Yes, I was able
When
to
I wasn't there.
record to. Well, because I'm recording to my computer. So each of us recorded to our own and it follows you wherever you go.
Very good. Okay, well, let me go to the room then. So we have proven what we need. That's groovy.
Yes.
Thanks for all that you're doing.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
It's like requiring more patience than I have. Okay.
No, I'm not because that's my computer and I'm co-host on the phone, but not on my computer.
Ah, okay, right. So you can't.
But that's okay. Now I'll have a question. When y'all went to go hit record, did it ask you if you wanted to record on your computer or into the cloud?
It
No,
did say
only the only option is to record on your computer. For sure, if someone's recording to the cloud, and I think for sure if you're in a breakout room.
I mean, we want them to record on your computer, but when I've used Zoom before to record, it gives me usually the option to record the cloud or the.
There are no, yeah, but it doesn't give you the options when you're in the breakout room.
There are no options in the breakout room.
Yeah.
You know what? And I think I misstated and I said it wrong because I just went and did. Not saying you can't share a screen. I just tried to minimize my screen. And it says that you cannot minimize. So I got it confused. It's not sharing your screen, it's minimizing. You cannot minimize if you're using the cloud.
Yeah, you cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording the meeting. What do you know? Thank you.
Only if
Good
you're using
to
the
know.
computer, but not the cloud.
Okay.
Right.
And George
well,
and I tested out, and yes, the recording follows you. So I did not stop the recording, and it followed me into the main room. And then I paused it there. George was recording in there, and hers stayed recording because it was her computer. Mine was paused, but she didn't see that. So to me, that says definitively that the recording follows you. So Ellen, what you were saying, when we're done with this breakout, we need to remember to stop it so that it makes a new file. And then when we start the second breakout, we're going to want to hit record again so that it makes that additional file. And then stopping, I mean, if we don't stop coming back into the main room, it's not a big deal. But to make life easier for an editor, making those stops and starts will be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is the thing I'm most worried about, preserving the recordings. And as I said, I'm deliberately low tech, no tech, but it sounds like you have control of the situation. Let's hope. But this is the schedule. At 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, the Fannie Lou Hamer video will play. That's just under 5 minutes. I will welcome everyone and kind of explain the occasion. At 10 minutes after the hour, it's expected that we should have about 160 participants. That's the goal. We lock the doors at 10 after because we want everyone to be able to hear the speakers speaking on the topics so that everybody gets that information. So the 4 speakers speaking for 10 minutes, starting with Pastor John Vaughn of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. He's not here, but he's the first 10-minute speaker. And then Azadeh Shashahani of Project South is the second speaker on immigration justice. Then Cheryl Spencer is the third speaker. And then Akinyele Umoja is the fourth speaker. My estimation is that we'll have a little time for Q&A. And so that is something George and I will try to do, making sure that we keep people to strict time limits. You don't have to be in the first breakout until 2:15. So we had a plan to do a kind of hard stop by 5 after 2 p.m., which would give the facilitators and whoever is moving people around 10 minutes to get them into place if people are self-selecting. And at 2:15, the breakout starts. It has 40 minutes. So at 2:55, we come back into the main room and we say, what happened in your first breakouts? So people will have about 3 minutes per facilitator to say that. Mute yourself, Ellen, with those dogs barking.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And then we will at 3:15 we'll do the final session, because in those little moments it gives people a chance to get water, go to the bathroom, whatever they're doing. But then at 3:15 to 3:45 we come back into the main room. We have a little bit of a break then because at 4 o'clock we start, what are we going to do about it? And that's when each of the facilitators will have about 5 minutes to say, these are our agreed upon conclusions. I love that phrase. At the Commission on the Status of Women, at the end of the day, they say, these are our agreed upon conclusions. So that is what will come out of the breakouts in the final hour. And we'll have some discussion about that. But all of that has to be preserved because what we're going to do, I'm raising money as we speak because we will be working with organizations that are in the breakouts to implement the action steps. So the final thing is that, and I would appreciate it, Cheryl, if you could drop in the chat the RFP for the plowshares. If you could drop that link in the chat, the plowshares RFP.
Right. So it sounds like you definitely want people to always go back to the same topic they went to their first breakout on.
No, it is not. No. People, whoever is in the final session, will be a part of the decision making, even though they weren't in the initial. This is where the skill of the facilitators comes in, because nobody can come in and say, oh, I want to do this. No, what we agreed to in the first session is that we would pick from these 5 things to get down to 3. So this is the skill of the facilitators to make sure you come out with only 3. But the one thing that we'll be doing that will involve all of the topic areas is, as I mentioned to Cheryl, the Southern Anti-Racism Network is the fiscal sponsor for the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. And so as I read the RFP, I understand that they are willing to pay for conferences and other things. So we are in the process of discussing whether or not we will ask the Plowshares Equity Rising grant opportunity to fund in person, hopefully, Fannie Lou Hamer branch Human Rights Conference on December 10th of 2020. 2022. I'm being completely transparent. I urge anybody else who wants to apply, feel free. But I think we have a good chance, based on what we would have accomplished with this one conference, to put in a concept note to them. So I just want you to know we're already looking to fund this. Now, for the first few months of the year, the funding has to come from somewhere else. So the Mary Reynolds Babcock Foundation, which is a foundation I'm friendly with in Winston-Salem, they know that I'm going to be asking them for an opportunity for a few $1,000s. So the Southern Anti-Racism Network will be raising money so that we can do some of the actions, but we'll be partnering with other groups. So that's what I want to let people know. But the important thing, the reason why I wanted Cheryl to drop the link in the chat, is that the Plowshares Equity Rising opportunity has 3 webinars they'll be doing before the final concept note is done. And the webinars are December 1, there's one in January, and there's one in February. I'll go to the December 1 one. So we would want as many of you as possible, if you can, go to the December 1, because I can see this being a much larger collaboration than just the Southern Anti-Racism Network, particularly around the TPNW work, because that's kind of what Plowshares is about. And so in terms of us looking at Nuclear Watch South, in terms of us looking at Georgia 1, it will be a kind of South-based proposal. So I just want to be completely transparent that that's something over and beyond the 3 actions that we're looking to come out. The other thing I want to point out, since we are seeming like we're getting close to using our 90 minutes, that we are providing honoraria thanks to a $1,500 grant from Wilf US. And Ellen Schwartz was a big part of moving that along. So the money is actually in the bank. Those of us who are members of Wilf, Cheryl, Adrian, Samantha, George, will not be getting honoraria. But Rebecca, even though Rebecca joined today at my urging, and she's now in the Detroit branch, what people are agreeing is that the checks will be made to organizations. Rebecca, would you unmute yourself and name your organization that the check will be written to?
Well, I guess to Peak Institute, which is my nonprofit.
Yes, and for Walisha, it will be New Life Second Chance, which is her nonprofit. And then for the person who will be in the session with her, the check will be made out to the Southern Center for Human Rights. Now, I'm not sure who all else, none of the panel only speakers will be receiving honoraria, but at the point I started counting the money, it looked like there were about $1,200 that we were going to be spending on honoraria, and some of the checks will actually be written tomorrow morning. So I'm asking, I think I have the address for Walisha, but I'll double check. So Cheryl graciously just put the Plowshares link for the RFP in the chat. So anybody who wants to look at the RFP should do that. Is there anything else to come before us? Because I think I have talked to everyone about the honoraria already, and we've agreed how the honoraria will be sent out. And I have the checkbook, and so I'll make sure that happens sooner rather than later. And we are counting on you to show up. Oh, Akinyele, who had to jump off, I think. Did Akinyele jump off? I'll talk to Akinyele because there will be honoraria. I think he has a particular organization he wants to receive it, but it's mainly going to organizations. So are there any other questions before we adjourn?
Yeah, I have I think Ellen did, but no, I have one, which is just to say that the actions that Wilf has already been engaged in around the TPNW, we are using our volunteers. We don't actually spend any money to do it. So the issue of we need to think about what other actions could be happening that will actually need some money behind them. So, but currently the kind of actions we do don't cost us, they cost volunteer time, but they don't cost anybody any money. So anyway, that's just a thought.
Well, Cheryl, just to be clear, the budget for this conference is already set. When we sent the budget to Will to get the mini grant, every single cent is accounted for. There is no more money. We have to pay a tech person, I know. So Ellen, please explain. No, I mean in terms of Glenn, I thought we had to pay Glenn. Yeah. So we don't know what that amount is, but is it $100 or whatever?
Well, we don't have to pay Glenn anything. He's not doing anything. We set up a blank page.
Well, we'll sort it out, Ellen. We'll sort it out later.
Right. Any Wilf member who participates in this should not expect to be paid.
Exactly.
Are the terms of the meeting.
And we're all clear about that. So George, Adrian, Samantha, and Cheryl and I do not expect to be paid. Now, Rebecca was not a member when I already told her about the honorarium. And I urged her today, because what I envision happening out of this is anybody who is not a member will become a member, because I just recruit. And so Rebecca surprised me when I was telling her, oh yeah, you really should join the Detroit branch, and she did. And so thank you so much for that. I don't know if Walisha has joined yet, but at some point, hopefully
it'll be in March.
Metro Atlanta branch.
Right, I guess people who were not members when they signed up as whoever's going to get the honoraria shouldn't be punished for joining.
Well, I agree 100%, Ellen. So I am so excited about this. And I would urge all of the facilitators to get with the speakers in their breakouts so that Rebecca and Cheryl get together in these weeks to come, and that Samantha and Adrian and hopefully Adelina or somebody from GLAR would be in that, because that would be so important to have someone from GLAR. Who had their hand up? Ellen, were you raising your hand again?
Yes, I do, because I never explained what's going to happen afterwards to the recording.
Please.
And I actually only know a little bit about what's going to happen afterwards to the recording. The recording is not actually created until after the meeting ends. So after you leave the meeting, there'll be a pop-up that says, preparing the meeting, wait just a second. So please don't make that stop. Don't turn off your computer at that moment. It doesn't take very long. And where it saves it by default is in a folder called Zoom, which is in your documents folder on your computer. And it's a documents folder, whether you're on a PC or a Mac. And if you don't know how to find the documents folder on your computer, and if you do, it'll be just, in the outer layer, the inner first level inside the documents folder. And I'm gonna ask Teresa to help me, connect all of the people who are gonna be doing the recordings so I can,
Oh, no.
oh, well done.
Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, here's your documents folder. There's Zoom.
We're on the left.
Documents.
That's in OneDrive. And sometimes it has recorded to OneDrive, and sometimes, but usually it'll go to the native computer where it says.
I don't have a OneDrive. I don't know what you mean when you said OneDrive. This
That's
is my documents. Desktop.
It says OneDrive.
Documents. And then Zoom.
George, you do have a OneDrive. It's
Okay.
right there in front of your eyes.
All right, then.
It says OneDrive, and then underneath it says PC. Now, if you mirror everything to OneDrive, then yeah, it'll be in both places. But it will, at the very least, it'll be under where it says this PC. A little further down.
Just here.
Well, there, yeah. And any of those things that say documents are the documents. And it'll say Zoom at the bottom of the folder. So Z is the last letter of the alphabet.
Okay, cool.
So after we leave here, I'd like you all who made recordings to go see if you can find the recording. And then the last step is a web service called WeTransfer. You can use anything you want. If you got a favorite transfer service, fine. I know WeTransfer is pretty intuitive, easy to use, and it can handle large enough files. So there won't be a problem of like your file is too big to transfer using it. And you'll send it, I'm not sure. I think to me, maybe to the other Ellen Thomas. Ellen Thomas is the one who actually uploads things to the Wiltz YouTube account. But we're a little bit away from having to deal with that. You'll send it somewhere and you will be informed where to send it. And it's just by the email address. And then whoever it is would get a notification and go fetch it. Kind of like the Amazon locker. Only doesn't cheat their employees. So that's my final pitch.
Well, George, you will save this recording and save the chat because I'm not sure who put their addresses in there. It looks like Akayeli left earlier. He's a pretty affluent professor. Maybe he'll say, never mind the $200, I don't know. But I think he has an organization that he works with that he would probably want to get a member of Will. But George, you have the recording and the chat covered. Well, do our little inspirational music and we can boogie on home. Thank you.
Why don't we go back into the main room?
It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
We lost our little music and everything. What happened?
Oh, it's true. I dragged everybody back into the main room. I'm sorry. There.
One of Fannie Lou Hamer's favorite songs, This Little Light of Mine. I can't hear a thing though, George.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night. I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. The light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it I'm gonna let it shine. All in my heart. I'm gonna let it shine. All in my heart. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, it's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, it's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Woo!
Well, thanks everyone. I will follow up with the people who are missing to make sure they're still with us. I'm a bit concerned about Selena because we're counting on her with that COP26 report. And so, George, we know we're gonna make sure we get the bios from everybody. And what we will do at some point is send out the edited bios. The bios are all under 200 words at this point, and we want to make sure you're all okay with them. So at some point next week, when we have all of the bios, We do have quite a few now. We do have Cheryl's, Rebecca's, John Vaughn's, Akiyeli's, and we're going to get Adrian's, and we do have Walicia's. So we'll get Adrian's, Ellen's, we got to have yours, and Samantha and Ellen Thomas, who has a very powerful history in the nuclear resistance movement. And I have a little bio that will be submitted from, yeah. So that's it. Are we done?
I did want to let you know, Teresa, I know since you said Medicaid was going to be on the agenda, I did post in the chat that tomorrow Atlanta Legal Aid is doing a free live webinar on their Facebook page for people who are physically and intellectually disabled, talking about Medicare waivers and things like that. So I did share it in the chat.
No, that's not going to be a part of the conference.
Oh, okay. I thought
No way. Only the 4 topics that we talked about.
Oh, okay. What I did drop that in the chat.
You and I can talk tomorrow. Alicia, I know you're very busy, but we need to confirm your colleague. And so let's talk tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Night,
well, Alicia,
everyone.
you probably saw that in the BOPA. It's one of our areas of work on the BOPA.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That might have been what it was.
Which is something totally different from what we're doing with the conference. It's much bigger, but we'll talk about that later. George, you have the recording, you have the chat. Thank you, ma'am. Talk to you in the morning.
Thank y'all.
All right, then.
Okay, good night. Good night. Bye-bye.